Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from and will do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. And the title for this was going to be Scoffers and Mockers will be judged soon, because we see majority of our people that come up against the prophets, against the truth, and ultimately really coming up against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because like the scripture says, like Yahushai said, they don't hate you, but they hate him that sent me. Just like majority of our people, didn't accept Yahushai, we come in that same stead. Majority of our people don't accept us because of the message that we come with, because we come in the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which is the spirit of prophecy. We're prophesying the downfall of this kingdom, prophesying the downfall of Esau, Edom, the several-claimed white man, prophesying the destruction of America, prophesying that majority of our people of the nation of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the true Israelites, are going to be destroyed, are going to get put to death. And that's why majority of our people, they don't accept the message, because ultimately it's the true message of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. That ultimately we're not going to be saved by keeping the law, statutes, commandments 100%. Like even these other Israelites, that know that the Israelites, are telling their congregation, they're the main ones that come up against us too. But Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is recording all this in the heavens. He's having the angels record it. All these jakes that know about the truth and know that they're Israelites, but yet, they're not doing the right thing. Instead they're coming against the men of the Lord, starting with our apostles and elders and bishops on down. So ultimately all these jakes think that they're going to get away with all the shit talking that they're doing. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai just reserving them for the day of judgment. This is Job 21 and verse 29. And it reads, have ye not asked them that go by the way? And do ye not know their tokens? Verse 30, that the wicked is reserved to the day of destruction. They shall be brought forth to the day of wrath. So, we may see these wicked ass jakes, that know that they're Israelites, wicked jake in the world, these heathens, all these different podcasters, Drewski and that other cat, I forgot his name, but, he went up to the brothers in Detroit, and he called them Dusty and Bumps, but Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is having the angels record all the words, even the wicked thoughts that these wicked ass jakes are having against, his servant the prophets. But, it may seem like they're going to get away, like they're not going to get judged. Like Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai just letting them get away, with all the shit talking. Some of these scoffers even, put hands on the men of the Lord, but Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is ultimately reserving them for judgment. A lot of them, he's reserving them to get Mike Grossy hipped up, to take the MOTB so they can get hit by the missile. So it may seem like, okay, damn, they're doing all this talking and they're seeming to get away with it. But even now, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has made an example out of these wicked ass jakes. He had Mike Epps and his partner, come against the man of the Lord. And what happened to this partner? He got put to death. What happened to, the leader of Sakari? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai made an example out of him because he was talking down on our apostles and leaders and elders and bishops on down. So Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai doesn't forget. He's just letting them get more proud to think that they're going to get away with all the wickedness that they're doing, which they're not. This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 36. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. So ultimately, all these jakes that are, shit talking, scoffing and mocking, talking about y'all false prophets, the prophecies that y'all speaking about aren't going to come to pass. Yahweh Shem Shai is recording all that because they may think that, okay, nothing has happened yet. I haven't got judged yet. I'm still doing wickedness. But look at me. I haven't got touched by the Most High. But that's Yahweh Shem Shai, put in that spirit of being deceived, because he wants them to think, okay, I'm gonna keep talking down on the prophets of Yahweh Shem Shai. I'm gonna keep calling them bums and grapists, keep calling them bugged out, keep and even talking down on the men of the men of the scriptures, on the Apostle Paul, on John the Baptist, and all these different great men, our forefathers that are in the scriptures. They talk down upon them because it's the same spirits coming back today. It is those same wicked scribes and wicked Pharisees coming back today in the reincarnation. That's why they're coming in that same spirit. And even these wicked jakes that are in the world, it's the same spirits coming back today. So Yahweh Shem Shai is ultimately allowing everybody to be back in their lot. You're going to have the scoffers and mockers. You're going to have the prophets in their lots, the believers. Verse 37, for by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. So you're going to have the righteous, which are the elect. They're going to be justified. They're going to be delivered by Yahweh Shem Shai because they believe in the report. Then you're going to have the wicked jakes that didn't believe in the report, didn't believe in the words of Yahweh Shem Shai being spoken by his servants, the prophets. There's going to be that contrast. Yahweh Shem Shai is going to make known who his elect is and who are the ones who were meant to get judged because they were, being wicked, talking shit, scoffing and mocking, putting, talking shit on the comment board and walking up to the camp and coming against the brothers, throwing rocks at the brothers, throwing waters, so it's all being recorded in the heavens. This is Matthew chapter 18 and verse 6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, going into the hopeful elect, which believe in me, believing in Yahweh Shai, because a lot of these Israelite camps that claim to be in the truth, they don't really believe in Yahweh Shai. They're not doing what Yahweh Shem Shai commanded them to do. They teach that you got to keep the law 100%. They teach that there's not going to be any Jacob's trouble. They teach that America's not going to be destroyed. Some of them even teach that heathens can make it. It says it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Verse 7, woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, for woe to the man by whom the offense cometh. And that's majority of these jakes, these wicked Israelite camps that are teaching false doctrine, these jakes in the world, these podcasters, these celebrities, rappers. They know about the truth, but what are they doing? Majority of them are just talking down on the truth, making it seem like it's of no importance. Because you do have celebrities and rappers that are secret disciples, but they're not talking down and they're not talking shit like these wicked ass jakes, these 2/3 Israelite camps that are teaching false doctrine. So Yahweh Shem Shai is ultimately reserving these wicked jakes for judgment. It may seem like they're getting away with it, like the Lord hasn't judged them yet, so it seems like he's not going to do nothing. But ultimately, it's all a snare and trap to these wicked jakes. Because Yahweh Shem Shai has always, allowed the prophets, to send judgment. And right now, it may seem like, we're not doing anything, but it's all in the spirit. Because very soon, like it says in Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 16, right now we're fishing for men, but soon, we're going to be turned into hunters. Lord willing, we'll be a part of that number. And Yahweh Shem Shai is going to allow his prophets, his servants, to get down on these wicked ass jakes and these wicked ass heathens that were talking down on the men of the Lord. Just like in Elisha in his account right here, and he was, mourning, and he shaved his head bald. And what did the wicked ass little Jakes, do? They were talking down on him, and then he sent a curses upon him, and then they got put to death. It says right here, 2 Kings chapter 2 and verse 23, and he went up from thence unto Bethel, and he was going up by the way. There came forth little children out of the city and mocked him and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. And this is what happens next, to those scoffers and mockers. Verse 24, and turned back and looked on them and cursed them in the name of the Lord. Yahweh Shemel shot, and there came forth two she bears out of the wood, and tear 40 and 2 children of them up. So 42 little wicked ass, YNs just got put to death just like that, because they were talking down on his servant, Elisha. And it's the same thing today. We have all these wicked jakes on the comment board, coming down up to the camp talking shit. A lot of them be teenagers, little children, think that they know something, and then they may offend one of the brothers, and then it's a wrap. A lot of them just come up just to mark themselves. That's why we put curses upon them. We put curses on Babylon the Great, America, and it's the same thing. To all these wicked jakes that think that they're wise in their own eyes. Ultimately, we just put curses on them. And Yahweh Shemel Shah may not put them to death. He may do worse. He may have them get in a car wreck and be, paralyzed from the neck on down. He may have, all their family, get put to death, and then they're the only ones left and just have to bear that all that loss. Yahweh Shemel Shah is a power that's to be feared, but majority of our people, they don't fear Yahweh Shemel Shah. That's why he's just going to have to make an example out of them very soon, during Jacob's trouble, during martial law, because Yahweh Shemel Shah is about to make known who he's dealing with. Because right now, majority of our people, they may see us, they may see the wrinkled up garments, garments don't match up. They may call us bugged out, seem like we don't know what we're talking about. But Yahweh Shemel Shah is about to make known who he's been dealing with this whole time. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account for his labor. So that's what the true prophets of Yahweh Shemel Shah are doing right now in these last days. We're going up to the gates of the noble. We're telling Esau, Edom, that he's going to go down. We're telling the wicked of our people that they're going to get put to death, lest they repent. We're telling Esau, Edom, that his kingdom is about to collapse. Verse 2, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for. So that's going into the deliverance of the elect, which is going to be by the chariots of Yahweh Shemel Shah. When Yahweh Shah pulls up, in that big father ship, bigger than the entire planet Earth, the whole world's going to look into amazement. All the scoffers and mockers, all the wicked elite, they're going to be like, damn, those were the ones we were talking down upon them. Look at them now. They're getting delivered into the chariots, while the rest of these wicked ass jakes are getting put to death by missiles, getting put to death by the chariots of Yahweh Shemel Shah. Verse 3, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. Verse 4, we fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. Verse 5, how is he numbered among the children of Yahweh Shemel Shah, and his lot among the saints. And that's what our people are going to do. The wicked of our people, they're going to see the elect, get beamed up into the chariots while they're getting put to death by the missiles, getting burned up. They're going to get put to death by the chariots of Yahweh Shemel Shah, and they're going to remember, like, damn, Those are the men that I was talking down upon, that I was talking shit. I was calling them grapists. I was calling them false prophets. Look at them now getting beamed up to the chariots of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, while we're out here getting, burned up. But that's what the end of these scoffers and mockers that keep talking down on the men of the Lord are about to suffer. But that's pretty much the point. I pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all in this truth from who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say Shalom.